Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melisa Caprio.
Hello and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. Happy New Year, everyone. Is everyone excited about leaving 2020 behind and moving into 2021? I know I am. It's been quite a year, so I think collectively we're all ready for 2021. Do you guys do resolutions? I don't do resolutions. I always do a word for the year. So for me, resolutions don't work. I feel like it's a setup for failure. It's almost like my brain says, oh, you say you're going to have this resolution, and then it challenges me. So having a word is much better. So the word that I chose for 2021 is expansion. So how can I expand next year? Who knows, right? Who knows what's going to happen, but we shall see how it all unfolds. Today I have a really great guest, a relationship expert, Pamela Vandervoort, and I'm going to bring her out in a few minutes, just a few things. Next week's show, which is the first show of 2021, I have my returning guest, Reverend Gregory Passman, and he's the psychic trance channeler, and he channels over 40 light beings, including archangels, and next week he is going to be live channeling on the show with emphasis on what it is we can expect that is new and exciting in 2021. So I'm excited. So make sure you join me next week. And if you were listening to my show last week, I was in the middle of a story, and of course I ran out of time. It's so funny because you think when you do the show yourself, like you're going to be like, oh, I got to fill the whole time. And I always run out of time when I do the show myself. So I guess I have a lot of stuff I want to share. So I got cut off in the middle of the story, right? So I'm going to reread it. And for those of you who are like, what is she talking about? I was reading from a contributor, a manifesting story from my book, Postcards to the Universe. And this was from one of the contributors. And I'm going to read it again. It's not long, just because, like I said, I got cut off. So these are not my words. This is, I'm going to read what his name in the book is just C. So I'm going to read what C wrote. I grew up in a house of lawyers. Both my grandfather and father were attorneys, so it was expected and assumed I would follow suit, which I did very unhappily, and I kept that unhappiness hidden deep inside. Part of the reason was because I didn't want to upset the family, especially my father. It was drilled into me since I was a very small boy. The other part of the reason was because when I had started college, I still had no idea what else I would want to do. So I went along in the family tradition. I became a defense attorney, a very successful defense attorney. I was making a very good living at it, and yet inside I hated every part of it. I couldn't stomach some of my clients who I knew were guilty of the crimes they were accused of. Yet every person, innocent or guilty, is entitled to a fair trial, and my job was to defend them. Liking them was not a part of the job description. I lived in a very nice flat, had a shiny sports car, went to fine restaurants, and owned expensive suits. Inside, I was slowly dying. I would fantasize about living another life. I was with a friend at an art exhibition in these studios that artists live and work, and I had been introduced to Melisa, and she was sharing her project, Postcards to the Universe. She asked if I would like to grab a postcard and write down something I want to manifest in my life. I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but she had one picture in particular that I liked sitting on her table. It was of an old rotary telephone. It reminded me of my father's phone in his office when I was a little kid. Excuse me. I asked if I could write something on it, and she said I could, even though that wasn't one of her usual postcards. It was just a photo she had printed out. I was struggling with what to write because I already had so much, so she suggested I write something I want to feel. What came to me was, Dear universe, lead me in a direction where I can find some joy. I left the card with her and went about my life. Fast forward 2 months later, and I was in my office preparing for a case when I had collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. I had a heart attack. I got very lucky according to the doctors, and while I was in the hospital recovering, I knew I had to change my life. I knew I couldn't do that job any longer. I told my family, and surprisingly, they were more supportive than I had thought they would be. I transferred all my cases to other attorneys and did nothing for a while. I was lucky I had enough money to sustain me, but I needed to think about what I wanted to do now. I really, for the first time, took care of myself. I started reading and taking classes and courses and trying new things that I had never had the time for. I really listened to my heart. I discovered that I like sharing my knowledge with others, and I really wanted to help people, especially children. So I got my teaching degree and became a teacher. I sold my flat and my expensive car and moved into a very different neighborhood. I got a job at a school that I believed really needed me. The school had a high dropout and crime rate. I felt strongly pulled to reach these kids before they grew up and became a defendant sitting in a criminal attorney's office, preparing their legal defense for committing crimes. I knew I could help. This is where I could reach them. It was the best decision I have ever made. My life has completely shifted, and I am so fulfilled. I know I am where I am supposed to be. Don't get me wrong, this job is very challenging and difficult at times, but I am making a difference. My students' success is my top priority, and I am seeing the influence I am making. This is what is bringing me so much joy. My salary is not nearly what it was when I was practicing law, but it doesn't matter. My life is so much richer. I had forgotten about the postcard I made until Melisa and I connected again and reminded me that I had created one. She asked for me to contribute, and I said, yes, of course. I guess I got what I asked for. She just laughed and shook her head. My only condition was to remain anonymous for privacy purposes. I want to protect my students, old clients, and my family. I don't know if making a postcard was the reason all this happened. I am very analytical and a bit skeptical by nature. But, and I mean this, I cannot count this out, and I no longer believe in coincidences. I believe I was meant to meet Melisa and participate in her project, and I am so grateful I did. So I was talking about manifesting, and I thought his was such an interesting contribution because he didn't even know what he was doing. He just knew what he was doing in his life wasn't working for him. And he actually had to have a heart attack to change his life. So we don't want to do that, right? Okay, so I had to share that with you guys because, like I said, I got cut off in the middle of it last week. As you guys know, each week I share the Magic Monday message, and this one has the affirmation, sending greetings, joy is waiting for you. It's a little ode to what is coming in the new year. You can see it on my social media, my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and on my website. And if you're on Facebook, stop on by my public Facebook group, Postcards of Love, and join us in sharing inspiration and joy. Okay, so let me get to my guest. I'm just going to read a bit about her. So Pamela Vandervoort is a dating and relationship expert. She has a bachelor's degree in communication studies and a master's degree in spiritual psychology. Pamela created Dating for True Love to help women date to meet their true love and create a happy, healthy, fulfilling, and empowering relationship. In this high-tech world, that has inundated singles with so many choices, it can be hard to find a clear pathway to love. Pamela's proven system has helped hundreds of women find lasting love, and today we're going to talk about manifesting the kind of love you want in 2021. And you can find out more about her on her website, www.datingfortruelove.com. Welcome, Pamela. Thanks for being here. Happy New Year.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Thank you. I'm excited. It's been a crazy year, so
I know.
Oh my God.
The hits are still coming, though. That's why I'm like almost.
Oh, I know, right? Can't wait for this year to be over. So Okay, so I'm sure this year has been quite a challenge for singles looking to date. But before we get into that, why don't you share a little bit about you and how you got to become an expert in dating and relationships? Because your goal is dating to find a relationship, correct?
A committed relationship.
Committed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I implied that, but I guess we really should say that, a committed relationship.
Yeah, because that's kind of, my specialty is commitment. And true love is a happy, healthy, fulfilling, committed relationship. That's what true love is for me, for my business, for my clients. So the people who come to me are people who want a happy, healthy, fulfilling, committed relationship. That's who I help. So because, in today's world, like, you can have as many choices of what type of relationship you want. You don't have to get married.
Sure.
You don't have to be committed. I mean, you can date numerous people. You can date multiple people. You can have polyamory. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Right. Exactly. Right. So how did you get into it? Like, how did that start for you, that you decided, hey, you know what, this is what I'm good at this is what I want to do?
Yeah, so when I was getting my master's degree in spiritual psychology, I knew I wanted to be a coach. Like, I knew that, well, not even wanted to be, that's not even the right word. I just knew I had an affinity. I knew I could understand people's patterns. I could, help people see what was going on. I mean, so many times there's all this confusion, especially in dating and relationships, where you just feel all this confusion. You don't know if you should be with this person. You don't know what's wrong. So I always had this ability to hone in on, like, what's wrong. And once you get that clarity, a lot of times all the other stuff just kind of goes away. So I did this project, and it was called Conscious Relationships, and it really didn't have anything to do with manifesting love. But I ended up with all these single women, and then several of them, after completing this little, 8-week program, they ended up finding partners. So I ended my marriage at that time because I wanted more, and I went through a lot. I mean, it was like a struggle, like years, like, oh my gosh, we should work it out. Should we break up? He's a good person. We're best friends. And finally, I was like, it's over. And I started dating, and I was like, whoa.
Whoa, right? Yeah.
I was like,
you hear a lot about that.
What the heck is going on out there?
Right. Okay.
And I was like dating online and just couldn't believe some of my experiences. So I started this little meetup, and I called it My Dating Support. And it was really just about, like, how to text, how to email, how to find people, how to online, that kind of thing. And it was super successful. Like, the first day I walked in, there was like 30 people, and everybody was like kind of the same shell shocked. I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, and I had a woman who was like 72, and she was like, you know what, my husband passed 10 years ago, and I don't want to get married, but I want a companion. I want someone to go to the movies with. I want someone to go on vacations with. And she ended up meeting a guy at her church like 20 years younger than her. And she was like,
good
oh my
for
gosh,
her.
should I do this? I know. She was really cool too. She was like very, peppy, energetic person. And I mean, so after doing this for like a year or something, I realized, like, at the end of the day, nobody wants to be good at dating.
Right.
Like,
that makes sense, because if you're good at dating, that means that you're going to keep dating. And if you're looking to date, to meet somebody, to have a committed relationship, right, you don't want to be like an expert at dating, right?
Yeah.
But there's a need for it. There's a need for it. We need people like you to help us navigate.
Well, and what I also discovered, though, was that nobody wanted to date, and most people hated dating. But that was like it's like there's a balance, right? Because when you hate dating, then you just want to get in that relationship fast, right? You just want to bypass like a whole bunch of steps and just get in that relationship. And that was like the root cause of all of these relationships that, you know, burn out after 3 months and that, you know, fail after a couple years, or that are just never really happy. You know, they're not really happy together. And so I realized, like, okay, I have to sort of marry this, and I have to really help people date for a commitment, like very specifically date for a committed relationship. And that's where I developed my system. And it seriously works, like, with every single person. So I just
you have a really high success rate. You have a really high success rate from your clients, which is cool. And I want to get into like what that looks like. I know we're going to be coming up to a break here in like 30 seconds, so I don't want to jump in right there. But you know, I noticed, and maybe you see that a lot, maybe with people who are not necessarily your clients, or this is where they've come from. So many people will settle for unhappy and unhealthy relationships because they just don't want to be alone. And I'm sure
but
this year...
there's also some other reasons for that, too. There are a couple other little reasons for that as well. We could talk about it. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah, and this year must be a big challenge with everybody being stuck at home. So why don't we take our little break now, and we'll be back in 2 minutes, and then we'll just jump right in. Stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Welcome back. So I have my guest relationship expert, Pamela Vandervoort, on, and we're talking about dating for true love, especially with this new year coming up. So right before the break, I was saying that I know a lot of people are in unhealthy relationships and unhappy because they don't want to be alone. And you were saying there's more to it than that, a couple of more things to it. So what were you going to share?
Well, I think also right now during COVID isn't a time people are wanting to like move out,
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
So it's kind of, that is going on. I mean, people are just sort of staying put regardless. But I have this program that I call Dating for True Love Committed, and it's for people who aren't getting the commitment they want from their partner, and it's like they're at their wit's end. It's like their last ditch attempt, you know what I mean, to make it, like, is he the one or should I move on? And when I delve into why they stay, a lot of times it's like there's just a part of them that feels like they haven't done everything, or that the relationship has potential, and they don't feel like that sense of closure, like I've done everything I can do, and now I just feel super clear that this person isn't for me. And I mean, the people are in pain. It's painful. Like, they're crying. All their family and friends are like, "You're an idiot. Why are you still with this person?" And so the purpose of this program is like, well, is this person capable of giving you the relationship you want? If you learn how to, ask for what you want, if you understand what's your stuff and what's his stuff, then can you make this work, or can you just feel really good about and really like clear and closure? Because I found that when people go through that and they have closure, it's not hard to move on, and they just feel over it.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's with anything, because, when things happen suddenly and there's no closure, it is harder to move on in anything. So when you do have closure, you feel like, okay, I've done as much as I can with this. Now, you work with men too, but you specialize working with women, or you work with more
I don't
women
work
than
with
men?
men.
Oh, you don't work with men?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. So specifically women. Okay.
I mean, every once in a while, like I'll give somebody dating advice or whatever, but
But you don't take men on as okay. Yeah, you don't take men on as clients. Not usually.
Not usually.
So, what is it? Some of the mistakes that women make in when they start dating, when they meet somebody. So they meet somebody they're dating, and what are some of the mistakes that women make?
There's like one mistake that women make.
Okay,
and it's not evaluating.
What do you
they
mean?
don't evaluate. They don't evaluate. So I have 5 stages of relationships. The first one's casual dating, the second one's evaluation dating, and the third one's committed. And they go from casual dating to committed, and they don't evaluate. A lot of times their mindset is like there's a certain place where all of a sudden they're like, I like this guy. Sometimes it happens on the first date. Sometimes it happens after being pursued for a little while. A lot of times it happens after they have sex. And if they don't evaluate, if they just have that place in their mind where suddenly they're like, I like this guy, they jump to commitment. Like all the focus becomes being committed.
Okay.
And it's like, wait a minute. Take the time to evaluate him. Do you know him? What does he want? What are his beliefs? What matters to him? What's important to him? How does he want to live his life? If you take the time and evaluate, then you will discover things about the person and it also creates a bond. Too,
right?
Which sex does not really create a bond the way people think it does.
Right. Well, we know that. If you've been around long enough, you know that.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. So, in the evaluation stage, is that because I'm assuming you don't want to be like an interrogator, as the woman, like, okay, so tell me about your mother's childhood and tell me about where you're like bombarding this guy with a zillion questions. Like, so what is evaluate look like? Like, what should we do to evaluate?
So I literally actually do have a set of questions, and they're like
That's cool. That's awesome.
they're like lifestyle questions, value
Okay.
questions, beliefs. But the thing is that you spread it out over time, right? Because at this point, you've been casually dating. So,
Right.
and you have to casually date for like a month. Like you just have to, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, it's so funny how many people like have sex on the third date, and then it's like, I'm like, no, you have to like hang out together, because the way you create a bond is you have fun. You create a bond by having fun, right? You create memories, you know.
Sure.
You look back on like that crazy time that you guys were like in the park and the rain started pouring down, and like you know, the stranger gave you an umbrella and you ran laughing to the restaurant, like. That's a way you bond. You have fun. You have experiences, right? Mm-hmm. And then you bond emotionally by, like, sharing things about yourself. So if you ask questions based on, like, their values, like, you know, what was your biggest accomplishment in your life? Or, you know, what if you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
Okay.
And then you're sharing things, and they're sharing things about themselves, and then they're thinking about things like in a different way. And so if you bring out, you know, somebody thinking about things in a different way, they appreciate that, right? Like it's creating an emotional response. It's creating an emotional connection.
Right.
It's taking your brain to a different area than where it normally goes. And that's also triggering like connection and bonding signals in your brain.
Yeah. And when you're casually dating, when you're first casually dating, a lot of mistakes that I know, you know, we've all made, my girlfriends I've made, I'm sure, is, you know, you meet somebody like them, you exchange phone numbers, and then like you expect to get like a text every day or a phone call, you know, and it's like you just met this person, like, you know, take it a little bit slower. We go from like 0 to 100.
Well, if they're texting you every day at the beginning, to me that's a warning sign.
That's a red flag, right? Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
would be like, okay, this is somebody who's like a conquester.
So his goal is to, right. Okay. So his goal is to like love bomb you, get you into bed, and then ghost you basically and move on to the next girl. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
It's good to have you on speed dial, Pamela.
I mean, the thing is, too, is that these people, like the people that do that, I really don't think it's as malicious as we think it is. That what I've discovered is they're not even aware that they do this. They just think they haven't met the right person yet. If you were to sit down and have a conversation with them, because that's one thing, like in the committed program that my clients do, is they have these conversations. I call it asking questions that inspire honesty. And they're always like, I don't know why he does this, or I don't know what he thinks. Or I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you, although I probably already do know. I'm not going to ask him. They're like, oh, I can't ask him. I go, yes, you can. Just ask. Here's how you ask. And I tell them exactly the words to use and what to ask in a way that's like sounds really chill, you know, just like, I'm just curious, you know, da-da-da. And they'll tell you like, oh, I do want love. I do want commitment. I just haven't found the right person yet.
Okay. So,
and they don't see that the way they're going about dating, they're never going to find the right person.
I see. Okay. And now there is such a thing, though, is an unavailable man, right? I mean, a lot of women come up against unavailable men.
Yeah.
And what does an unavailable man look like? Just for those who are thinking of dating or have been dating or going to start dating in 2021.
Well, I mean, the obvious one is substance abuse. You know, if somebody's drinking like 3 and 4 drinks on your first date, it's a red flag. It's a
red flag.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. If somebody's always drinking, you know, every time you're with them, substance abuse. It's,
That's a big one.
more prevalent than you think, too.
Right.
So,
Sure.
and then, there is the whole narcissist. A lot of times those love bomber people are narcissists. And
yeah,
that's a harder
they come
one
on
to
so
identify.
strong. They come on so strong in the beginning. Like, it's like, yeah, okay. So that's
And
usually narcissism.
and they make a connection. They know how to make this like really intense connection. And then they actually don't really necessarily go away. They do the whole lingering thing, where they show up just as you're over them. They ask you to do things at the last minute. They tell you how much they miss you. So their actions and their words are never in alignment, and it's very confusing.
Okay. So that's a big red flag for those of you listening. If you're dating someone and their actions and their words are not in alignment, then maybe you need to take a step back and evaluate, right? Because that's a big red flag.
Yeah, and see, the beauty of my system is that if you go through the stages and you follow my stages the way I teach them, you're never going to get involved with the narcissist. They are going to go away. They're going to see that you're not going to go with their program. You know what I mean? They're just going to go away before you're even involved with them.
Yeah, because it's the law of attraction, right? Because you're energetically at a different space. So you're not going to be attracted to them, and they're not going to be attracted to you, right? Because your energies don't meet anymore, which is cool. So it works in everything, manifesting the law of attraction. Now, what about this past year? What have you been doing with your clients since we've had to socially distance? Are you asking people to come on their date with their negative COVID test?
Well, fun fact, 1.5 million more people are on the dating app. And, of course, Zoom is now the, popular first date. You know what I mean?
Oh, how cute is that?
And it's funny, though, because I have to tell you that one of my, things I always had women do is I'm like, don't go meet the guy in person. Do not go from chatting to an in-person date. You need to ask them, ideally, ask them to video chat. And they're like, but a lot of guys aren't going to want to do that. And da-da-da. And I'm like, but if they don't want to do that, then they're kind of showing you that they're jerks right from the get-go.
Right.
Because in today's busy world, it's a harmless request. Well, now everybody's video chatting. So
I know. I'm actually going to a murder mystery Zoom party tonight at 9:00.
Oh my gosh!
I know. I have no idea what it's going to entail, but it's going to be fun. I know. Yeah. So everything's Zoom. So you were already telling people to kind of do that at first.
Yeah. And it's funny how many people resist doing it, but I do think it's really important to either have a phone conversation, a couple phone conversations, a video chat before actually going on a physical date. Because it's first of all, it's really important to advocate for yourself and what you need from the very beginning. If you're putting your needs aside because you're afraid that the guy won't like you from the very beginning, you're setting yourself up to not have the commitment you want. You are going to be the person that's in the 2-year relationship not getting the commitment you want. I guarantee you.
Yeah. And I know, why do so many women do that to themselves? Is it just the fear of rejection? Is it just that the pain of being rejected is just too much? So is it a people-pleasing thing? I mean, what is that about?
I just think it's a long history. I think it's survival. I mean, when I teach women to figure out what they need, their first small little need, their tiniest, let's talk on the phone before we meet in person. Let's video chat before we meet in person. The smallest need, and they pretty much all want to do that, I mean, most of the time at the end of the day, it's the preferable way to go because people get tired of schlepping all over the place in traffic to go meet somebody you don't even know if you like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I would want to do that. Yeah, if I was doing it, I would want to do that.
Yeah, but the reaction, like the fear, it's like a survival level fear. It's not even about this one guy. It's like a deeper, and I really think it just goes back to the whole, patriarchy, being kicked out of the tribe, blah, 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 figuring out, relationships today. Because in the past, you could, supersede your needs to your partners. And it was fine because you were going to get married. Right. You were going to stay married, and they were going to take care of you for the rest of their life. You may be, at home vacuuming in your high heels while your husband's, out, all hours of the night, but you were eating, you had a roof over your head. Do you know what I mean? Think of the 50s, I mean, this is how it was. Women were literally handed over from their father to their husband for 1,000 years. You know what I'm saying?
It's true. I mean, and if you weren't married by the time you were 20 or engaged 21, you were considered, it was what's wrong with you? You don't have a husband lined up, your boyfriend who's going to be your fiance is going to be your husband. That was oh my God. Nowadays, it's so funny. Nowadays, I think of girls in their 20s getting married. I'm like, you're so young. All right, well, we're at the second break already, so let's take our break really quick, and then we'll come back and talk more about it. Stay tuned.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hello, welcome back. So, Pamela, we were talking about relationships and about fear, and you mentioned during the break that there was something that you wanted to share about fear. So I'm going to let you go ahead and share that.
Yeah, I just really want to emphasize that if you feel afraid to ask for what you need, to not be hard on yourself, because it really is, it's something very ingrained in women, and in particular in this area of dating and relationships. So, like, if it was your kid, right, or your pet or whatever, it's like the mama bear will, like, take over, and you will, like, fight tooth or nail, like the most vicious, you know, whatever, to get something that you need for your family, your friends, your child, right? It's like, it's easy. It's like you almost can't not do it.
It's
You're like compelled to.
Right.
But this like frozen, like terrified feeling that I'm pretty much, I think almost every single woman I've worked with has this to some degree about asking for something they need. So it really is like a new skill, and it's critically important that you have it in order to have the relationship that you want. But also just keep in mind that it's not something wrong with you. It really is hard. It is hard.
Well, I like that you help guide women on how to do that, and the fact that you give questions for women to ask their dating partners and to ask themselves too, right? Like sometimes we don't. We just want to be liked, or we just want somebody to take an interest in us, that we'll just put all our own needs aside for that other person. And this is somebody maybe that you just met. So women have to be careful of that. So I think that's a good point, talking about how fear, you know, we don't realize how ingrained the fear is. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to learn something new in order to have what you want, right? I mean,
right.
So.
Right. Now, do a lot of the women that are your clients, are they, I mean, they're coming to you because they're looking for a committed relationship. So we already know this. So are a lot of them coming to you and like already making excuses for these men, and you can see it and you're like, listen, let me just tell you, I don't think that maybe he's good for you. And they're like resistant. I guess my question in a roundabout way is, there are a lot of women still looking for those bad boy types? Or is that like...
So I will say that I get a lot of women come to me because they're in relationships just like that, you know, where like they can't break up and all their friends are saying this guy's a jerk and you shouldn't be with him.
Right.
And I actually never tell them they shouldn't be with him. I say, let's find out and let's have you, because there's this big disconnect between your brain and your body, and it's very painful. I mean, when women are in that situation, they're at their last legs. Like, they're stuck in that really awful, painful place where they know they probably shouldn't be here, but they can't leave, and it's the worst feeling. So I'm not going to be that person to tell them the same thing everybody else is, because they're already hating themselves for being there.
Right. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like one of my clients, I'm just wrapping up with her. She's in a fantastic relationship. And when she first came to me, she was in this relationship with this complete and total narcissist. And she was like mad at herself and da-da-da.
Right.
So it like took 3 weeks and a relationship ended. And then she's like, I have to ask you this because I really was doubting you the whole time at the beginning, but I just took this leap of faith, because why did you not tell me what a jerk he was? Why didn't you tell me what an ass? Why did you have me do this journaling? And why did you have me keep going out with him? And why did you have me do these things? I'm like, well, weren't you telling yourself what a jerk he was before you worked with me? She's like, yes. Weren't all your friends telling you that you had to? Weren't you keeping him a secret because all your friends thought you were a complete idiot for still being with this guy? And she's like, well, yes. And I go, and didn't we end up having you end the relationship with him after just 3 weeks with total clarity and feeling like really great about your decision? And she's like, yes. I'm like, well,
there you go.
Why do you?
That's why I'm the expert.
She's like, but did you know? Did you know he was a jerk?
Right.
I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Right.
You have to have you have this moment where in your body you see the truth, and it's so clear to you. It's usually some interaction that they have with the person, like one conversation, one something, and then they just know. Like they just know. And I'll tell you that she's in a relationship with a really amazing guy. He just went home with her for Christmas. They both want the same things. It's very peaceful, but it's also very fun. They're really adorable together. I mean, it's a fantastic relationship. So,
are you still? What is you? How are you recommending right now people meet people? Is it through online dating places?
Yeah, I mean, online dating is. So here's like an interesting thing based also on her, right? She was online dating, like that was one of the inspired actions that we came up with. But then she actually met this guy through and then she also said, I just have this feeling I need to start expanding my friend circle, which she was doing during COVID. I'm not going to lie, but I mean, I'm not the COVID police, so I didn't really.
Okay. Okay. Right, I gotcha. She was doing that.
Yeah, she wasn't the best, and I'm going to be honest. But anyway, so she met him through like this new group of friends. So it's always like kind of like your inspired action. Like I believe in online dating because it generates energy. I believe in online dating because it keeps things moving. Whether you actually meet the person online, which a lot of people do, or you meet the person somewhere else in some other way, I think it's good to follow your like when you get those little thoughts inside of you, like those little inspirations to act on them. But I think online dating is really good because it's sort of like setting the intention. It's keeping the energy moving. It's keeping you talking to people. And even after she met him, she kept talking to a couple other people because, it's not good to like fixate all your energy on one person.
One person.
In the casual dating time.
Yeah. I think that's probably good advice because I'm sure a lot of people probably do that. They meet somebody that they like and they're like, oh my God, finally I like somebody. So they put everything in that person's basket, right? And that's too much pressure. Do you have a dating site that you like over others in case anybody's just thinking like, I really want to start, dating in the next couple of weeks?
I mean, at the end of the day, the Bumble app always ends up being it's got one of the highest number of people using it.
Bumble,
it seems to be. But I need to say that this year has really changed things because there's all these little like specialty apps popping up, like, apps for like Latino people, for example, has become like really popular. Apps for there's always been like the Christian apps, but there's been these little specialty apps like popping up that are getting a lot of use because the online dating usage is up so high this year.
Yeah, so, and Facebook, I think, even rolled out something like that. There's singles on Facebook, but I don't know anything about it. I just seen
for a while, and just got it was. It kind of had a strong start, but then it sort of,
Because then there's the ones that I hear from friends that are just the hookup ones that you're like, no, you don't want to do that if you're looking to date. That's just a hookup. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, some people still use, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm getting a blank on the name.
eHarmony?
Because no, it's an
Match.
app. No, it's an app. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the name right now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
and I know some people do meet their partners on it. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the name. But at the end of the day, I think, Bumble is still sort of the way to go, because it's just once you start, even if you've used it for a long time and you feel like you're getting the same people all the time and you feel like you're getting the same experience, if you change the way you're dating, the experience will change too.
Well, I like that you said differently. Yeah, and I like that you said it's good because it's keeping the energy moving, even if it's not where you do end up meeting somebody. You're keeping the energy moving, because a lot of people are like, "Oh God, I don't want an online date," like they don't even want to go there. So, if you think of it like that. If you think it's a really good way to kind of approach it. Is there anything that you could recommend somebody who wants to meet somebody in 2021 start doing right away?
Well, I would say to get my book.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad. I wanted to mention it. It's called Girl's Guide to Unavailable Men, Debunking the Myths So You Can Find Happiness in Love. It's on your website, right?
Yeah. You can find it right as you get to my website. There's a button to click to sign up. It's free. You just, put your name and email, and then you'll get it emailed to you. And it's really, it's just gift. An overview. Yeah, it's an overview of, the type of men are out there. I talk a lot about communication. I, talk about how to date for a committed relationship. So I would start with that. And then the thing I would say is to have a mindset of like, I'm learning, this is practice, it's a really important way to look at it, because otherwise if you're going about it like, oh my God, I'm going to blow it with the right guy, I'm going to finally meet the right guy and I'm going to blow it, or there's no such thing as blowing it with the right guy. It just doesn't happen. You learn all the shit you need to learn with the wrong guy. So if you're not learning, I mean, you do. Like, if you're not
that's great. There is no blowing it with the right guy for you. That's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, you can't, because he's not going to come in your life until you're ready.
Right. I'm so glad you said that. I've been having a conversation with a friend of mine like this for a long time, and she keeps saying, I don't understand, and I keep saying, it's because you're not ready, but I am ready, but no, you're really not.
But sometimes, honestly, like, all you need to be ready is just to, learn how to date right. It's really, if you date right, and so a lot of times, what I will see is that somebody will have been involved with a narcissist or some really dysfunctional person and gone through a lot of addicted person, whatever, gone through a lot of crap. And then, unfortunately, the next guy they meet will sort of be that way. Because you're still, like, that is the last energy that you were in. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're still in that energy field, yeah.
Yeah, but then if you date right, then you don't make the same mistakes you did before, right? You evaluate them, you do whatever. And then the guy you meet after that will be the right guy.
That sounds good.
Even like this particular client I was talking about, like she was with this guy and the whole thing was like he just never really he never understood how she was feeling. He didn't have any empathy. They didn't have this like emotional connection. And then she meets this guy after him, and she was at his house and he wanted to have sex, and she was like, I don't really want to have sex. She had dated him they'd done a bunch of things. It was just like he was making her dinner. And he couldn't understand why she didn't want to have sex with him. Like, it was just, I just don't understand why you don't want to. And she was just like, but I'm not feeling, like, you don't feel that I'm not feeling anything.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, that
They
you
couldn't
want to
understand.
have sex right now and you realize that I'm like not feeling it. And you're not even aware that I'm not feeling it.
Next. Well, we're like we have like not even a minute, I think, left. Anything you want to leave anybody with going into 2021?
I think everybody who wants a relationship and really wants it in their heart should date. I think that you should date with the mindset of like, I'm going to learn, I want to grow. And I do also want to say that if anybody really feels that this is their year to have a relationship and you want to learn and you want to, do the work and you want to do it in a different way, get my book because you'll have an opportunity to apply for a free session with me. And it's sort of designed to where I'll know if you're ready. And we'll talk because I want to help you. So if you want to have the relationship you want, I want to help you have it. Very rewarding.
Oh, thank you so much, Pamela. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. I'll see you all next year. Happy New Year. Everybody be safe out there and sending nothing but love and joy. See you next week. Peace.